BB851, turn right heading 180. 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
The situation at United, while yet to be fully covered like other airlines here on the channel, deserves an update following a message from the President and Chief Executive of the carrier, detailing to employees and now more widely the general public its plan moving forward. One that has some rather startling numbers, if I do say so myself. The message also has an underlying message, if you will, which is that for at least the remainder of this year, it'll be rather bleak for the aviation industry and more widely travel industry, with this being the biggest challenge United has personally faced in its 94-year history. A history that has had many ups and downs, but nothing quite to this magnitude. United will indeed be cutting its flight schedule by 90% for May, and in addition has said that they expect something very similar to occur in June. A decision that is not easy but comes following the outbreak of COVID-19, and ultimately the impact it's had. Current travel demand is at an all-time low of essentially zero, meaning for airlines putting on services, even when flights are indeed allowed again, will indeed be difficult. People will likely not travel at the exact same rate, and we've already heard from specific governments of countries that restrictions could very likely be in place for a while longer when it comes to travelling internationally. This is when even these specific countries ease their lockdowns of, say, going outside and shops opening up. For United, the drop-off in demand is quite staggering. For the first 2 weeks of April this year, 2020, for anyone potentially watching in the future, they saw a 97% drop-off in comparison to the same 2-week period a year earlier in 2019. United flew less than 200,000 people during this 2-week period of this year, while flying over 6 million for the same period in 2019. It highlights, in my opinion, perfectly how a rather large airline like United, fleet-wise and in addition network and passengers carried-wise, can really feel the effects of COVID-19. What's concerning is May's figures could be even worse. The President and Chief Executive both said in their memo to employees that they believe they'll actually fly fewer people throughout next month, May, than they did on a single day in May of 2019. A period that is really, you could argue, the early beginning of the summer travel period, peak, if you will, for Americans, and more across Europe as the warm weather starts to finally set in after a long and cold winter. In their memo, the pair said, "The historically severe economic impact of this crisis means even when travel demand starts to inch back, it likely will not bounce back quickly. We believe that the health concerns about COVID-19 are likely to linger, which means even when social distancing measures are relaxed and businesses and schools start to reopen, life won't necessarily return to normal." United has also noted that it does expect to receive around US $5 billion from the federal government. This is through the payroll support program. The $5 billion, they state, is going to be used to protect the paychecks of their some 100,000 employees. However, they've already seen 20,000 volunteer to take a leave of absence, which will indeed be unpaid. It's an approach that we've seen a number of airlines implement, especially those in the United States, like American Airlines and Delta. However, United themselves did indeed note that employees can sadly expect to see job cuts, as demand may not return to normal for years. The approach United and many others have taken in regards to cutting capacity is aggressive, with schedule changes being made almost instantly, and for some airlines, retirements immediately for older aircraft and more. Although I'm sure as the weeks passed, as I've discussed in earlier videos, we'll be seeing more and more airlines come out and not only cut down future orders, but also likely remove older aircraft that they simply deem to not be efficient anymore and also not be needed. What are your thoughts on the news by United, especially the idea that they'll be carrying less passengers throughout the entire month of May, which is next month, than they did in a single day of May in 2019? Let me know down below. As always, thanks for the support, and I do very much look forward to seeing you all next time.